little list right here of like 3 things that I feel like Splyce have kind of managed to succeed with on patch 7.12. Flexibility in carry top laners. We see so many different top lane picks right now. We even saw Mordekaiser earlier today. Non-carry junglers for Trashy. We know he loves his Gragas, of course, in that jungle. And even then he can go for things like Rek'Sai, where he doesn't have to like farm up a Storm to be useful, but he can gank in the early game. And then playmaking supports. Mickey is a massive playmaker in the bottom lane. We know he's very good on these different hook champions. The fact that they actually matter right now is good for him.
Absolutely, and this is why you see Fnatic banning away the likes of Tahm Kench. They don't want to give him something that he can bring his AD carry along to make the party just that much spicier.
They also ban Tahm Kench every game because Tahm Kench kind of stops you from playing around the bottom lane.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, Fnatic are kind of like, hey, we want to play around the bottom lane, so let's get rid of Tahm Kench every time.
But there's one more tick mark that's really important for any team facing off against Fnatic, and it's right there in ban phase 1. Ban the cannon. Splyce, they've done their homework.
Let's see if Shen is being left open for Soaz. It is not being left open. So game 1 of a best of 3, I like just banning away comfort, to being like, you know what, guys, let's just see what else you are going to use. Galio top lane is still a big pick for Fnatic, but it's kind of fallen down the priority list quite a bit. Obviously, still play the Rune King in here. A lot of these different top laners that can kind of beat the Galio, Cassiopeia in the mid lane against him. So Galio is no longer early picked in every game. And Fnatic in this one, of course, will take the #1 jungler for Broxah.
Yeah, once again left open and available, so Broxah gets a chance to have himself some early game impact on this Elise. And we'll see what Splyce end up answering with the Rek'Sai. Comfort right in the books for Trashy.
Yeah, we just talked about this with Rek'Sai. You don't need to be a massive carry. You don't need to sit and farm, and then win team fights for your team. You can just gank. You can facilitate your lanes very, very effectively. That's one of the reasons she's so good at the moment. Rakan, well, we also talked about playmaking supports. And we have one right there.
Check the box, Deficio. We've got Rakan locked in. We'll see if they get a chance to take the Xayah or if Fnatic are going to take that away from him. Ken is banned away. We know what Reckless tends to go towards. He still likes those side pushers. It's the Tristana. It's been the Twitch. That's what he's been doing, and he's not about to change
Tristana.
now.
It's very standard. It is really a priority list for Reckless. That is, it goes Kennen, then it goes Tristana, then it goes Twitch.
I see how you could mix up Reckless and Kennen. They are kind of
almost put them together. So I want to see what Jesus plays bot lane. Camille's support was the one I was about to mention.
There it is.
That has been his other go-to pick when Thresh is banned. So far, Fnatic are sticking to the exact same picks we normally see. No surprises at all.
But Splyce had to have known that this was going to be the case. It's what Fnatic have been showing consistently, and they know because you've got the other team's playbook, as good as that playbook is, you can get what you want. So they get themselves a lover's bot lane.
And that's kind of the thing when you play against Fnatic. The hard thing is not predicting their pick and ban phase. The hard thing is then predicting their place in the game and actually trying to play against it, because it is difficult for a lot of these European teams. Now, what Splyce likes to do at this point is try and get Rumble blind pick for Wonder. That's why they ban away things like Renekton that can be a little bit annoying compared with Elise in terms of just ganking and killing the Rumble up top lane. And if they get that blind pick Rumble, they can then last pick mid lane for Senkooks, and then they actually have a really good setup as a team to get some strong solo laners. Which they've been utilizing very well the last 2 weeks.
Well, let's see if they can get their hands on it. Back over to Splyce for the next ban as the Fiora was taken away. All been top lane focus, since we still have yet to see what Soaz and Wonder are going to take, except there is the LeBlanc ban, and well, when you're up against Baby Faker, you might want to ban the LeBlanc.
They do take it away. I don't think LeBlanc is that great at the moment, but it is a respect ban, as you just highlighted. I think you just ban Rumble here if you are Fnatic. I think it's a super strong pick for Wonder. He showed it 3 games in a row last week and was actually extremely good on it, especially in team fights. If they do leave it open, I'm expecting that to be the blind pick coming in for Splyce, and they actually do leave it open. They respect the Lucian from Senkooks.
All right, do they get their top locked in now? Would make the most sense, all things considered, if you want to try and give Senkooks a good matchup in the counter. The Rumble, hot property left up and available. Wonder gets to pilot it.
So Gragas could be a fine answer here for Soaz. Galio, the other one, the 2 tanks up in the top lane. Galio's been the most successful champion for Fnatic when Shen is removed, but Soaz's Gragas is always very, very fun to watch as well. So those are one of the 2 champions I'm expecting, unless they want to put Camille top lane, but that would be a bit of a surprise. So we get the Gragas. Mid lane, Syndra is open as a very safe blind pick. Obviously, there are certain counters, but they're not that scary. This one actually should mean something like a Cassiopeia should come in here from Senkux, and we do get it instantly.
Right on cue.
Hovered. Glad I got that one out fast.
Yeah, you got to make sure you get your sentences done. But he's still hovering it right now, and Senkux is a man of many talents.
Just go Cassiopeia. I do also want to see a Radiant Soul, don't get me wrong, but I think Cassiopeia is just a great matchup for him here.
And there it is. Okay, that's a lot of damage on the side of Splyce, and they have a lot of ways to get everyone nice and grouped up, and if that happens, a lot of damage all across the board just to mow them down.
Yeah, it's very well-rounded, you know. You have some engage tools in Rakan and Rek'Sai. You have magic damage coming from Rumble and Cassiopeia, physical damage from Rek'Sai and Xayah. So it's a good mix. Only thing it really is lacking is, like, you know, a big main tank in the front. You do have Rek'Sai as a bit of your front line. And that's where Fnatic might find an opening with some extremely good picks and a lot of burst damage. Like, if you cocoon someone, Corki combined with things like a Tristana can very quickly kill a target right in front of them.
Yeah.
Double AD carry. And that means if you're one of these squishy members on the side of Splyce getting caught out, you might die before the fight even starts.
Well, you got to be careful not to step one toe out of line when you're playing against Fnatic anyways, but this is the type of composition they like to roll with, and Splyce knew what they were going up against. Dylan Falco shaking hands with General Jeeves as they walk off the stage. Splyce are in the hunt to take down the Old Kings to see if they can slither up the steps and top their group. They are nearly at it, but Fnatic, they are already sitting atop that side of the table. We'll see if they're going to stay that way after all is said and done, but this is going to be one hell of a matchup between two of our best European squads. So I want to hear all you folks in the audience out there, and I want to hear everyone at home. I want to hear from miles away. You guys ready for Fnatic and Splyce? Because I think these two teams just about are.
Should actually be such a good series from these guys here. A lot of these players playing close to their peak, I would say, in terms of individual performance. Broxah looking better than ever, still a new player in the LCS, but been very successful here with Fnatic and their early game style, where he can gank so much on things like Elise.
It's easy to forget that Broxah is not the most experienced, considering this is going to be his first full split in the LCS. He came in the middle of the sprint, stepping up, really enabling his team in a lot of ways.
He's gonna body slam over. I've seen this so many times. The Gragas body slams over, enemy team hides in a little brush right there, and Gragas flashes back out. But this time, Splyce did not hide in the brush. Source will sneak in. The reason he's doing this is just to try and get a deep ward, and then maybe try and find like one guy from Splyce, preferably the jungler, who's maybe sneaking in to do a raptor camp, and you then try and kill him by walking around him and then body slam. But ideally, you get some early information, and maybe you steal something. So they can actually walk down behind Rek'Sai if they want to, but then you're kind of all in on this level 1, and you're going to lose a bit in your lane. So I think just getting the ward down is the safer choice. They might actually want to try and steal the red buff as well.
Yeah.
Splyce did ping this ward, so they know the ward is placed.
But they're committing to it. Fnatic still keeping 3 members around here and throwing down even more wards, even as Wonder comes to try and help. I don't think Fnatic want to tangle with it just yet, but if they can get a quick pick, that gets them off to a flying start.
So no one is going to lane on top side for the first 30-40 seconds here. They're just kind of getting ready to kind of fight each other. Both top laners are here, both junglers. Mid lane is hovering around. Wonder is trying to stop them.
Red buff fight. Time to test your smite. We'll see who gets it if it ends up being Broxah. Trashy is not even there right now. So it looks like I think Broxah is going to be uncontested, which means we should see Trashy rushing down towards that bottom side, but
it's hard.
It's pretty obvious. It's difficult, you're right.
Yeah, because now if you are Broxah, if you want to match that, you can rush down to your own bottom side as well, and then you can just find Trashy there, and you have a red buff, and he doesn't have a red buff. So Broxah could do that if he wants to try and counter the red, and look where Broxah is going. He's rushing towards his red buff.
But so is Trashy.
Oh, they're going to meet each other. So there is smite for Trashy, not for Broxah. But you don't really want to tank this one. Luckily for Trashy, his bot lane is pushing. Here's Broxah with the red buff, and I think Trashy just needs to get out of his jungle. Get out of there.
Blast coned right on out. So, red buff not going to be taken just yet as Broxah knows it's safe for the time being, and we'll get to see Trashy just having to walk back to the consolation prize, the blue.
You get the blue, the sucky buff if you're Rek'Sai, not the buff you want.
It really depends on the champion choice, doesn't it?
I really like some of the level 1s from Fnatic. They're very creative in what they're doing. So they see Rek'Sai and they say, okay, we have an early game jungler in Elise. You have an early game jungler in Rek'Sai. We both want to gank in the early game. Well, which buff do you want to gank with? Red buff, obviously. So they're making that level 1 play, getting now 2 red buffs over to Broxa and 0 for Trashy, making it harder now for Trashy to have impact level 3, level 4 in these lanes.
Gives Fnatic a bigger window to work with and try and get themselves off to a good start. And you said it yourself in the champion selection, but if they can find these picks, that is the way they can shut down this team fighting composition before it even begins.
Exactly, and if you're Splyce, if you can all in, if you can engage before Fnatic can create the pick, well then suddenly, with the amount of damage you have, it's very easy to kill most members on the Fnatic lineup. So
it's smart to try and respect the early game that Splyce has developed, because this is a team that historically we haven't talked about their early game being good, but that has changed.
Exactly, we have actually seen a lot of the players suddenly start winning the lanes. You know, Wonder is doing well top lane 1v1, Senkooks in the mid lane doing well 1v1, and then of course, as the analyst has highlighted, Copy and Mickey is one of the best bot lanes we have in Europe, especially if you look at that 2v2 laning, which means that Splyce can actually, with some early ganks from Trashy, start winning the early game. But obviously Trashy without a red buff, lost a little bit of value, but he's still level 4. You can definitely flash gank on Rek'Sai and still secure a kill.
Yeah, he's been settled far behind, but his counterpart in the mid lane, Senkooks, hasn't been doing too badly. You talked about his early game impact, what he's been able to do in the spring split overall. His numbers definitely don't look too shabby.
Yeah, you look at like the CS difference at 15, the third one down the graphic where it says 1.9. That doesn't look insane, like you're 2 CS up at, you know, at 15. The reason that it's actually standing out here for Senkooks is in the past, he was really far down at 15 minutes. He would traditionally fall behind in his laning phase on CS because he played scaling champions or he made a mistake early on. Now it's positive, which is a big change for Senkooks as a player. And one of the reasons Splyce are not falling behind early game like in the past.
And it's something you definitely have to respect about him. And we haven't always considered Senkooks to be like one of those top tier mid laners for a decent amount of time, as the Raptors do get fought over. And, you know, in fact, Senkooks' opponent today, Caps, he made himself a little tier list, and that did not include Senkooks in the top 5. So clearly, there might be some extra added incentive to get the solo kills.
Cap sending a message right there that he's not putting Senkooks top 5, and let's see if Senkooks in this series here can actually maybe beat Caps and make him reconsider.
Might have to change those up for a little bit. But for the time being, it's kind of hard to deal with the Corgi.
Power Vivo on that one, he's mad that he's being put number 5 and not higher up.
Oh, I thought he was gatekeeping Senkooks. That's what he was doing.
I guess maybe, yeah. Maybe he's actually showing to everyone that Senkooks is right under him as number 6 on Caps' list.
Oh, okay.
Nuke Dog number 2. A lot of people were debating that on Reddit. I saw a lot of threads and discussions about, you know, is Nuke Dog the second best mid lane in Europe? Is he third,
Caps
fourth,
think so?
Number 5? Caps seems to believe so.
Let's see what ends up happening now. Going very far forward, throws on the Gatling gun, but Senkooks is already getting a speed boost out of there. Storm Raider surge, Broxa, Trashy, once again they meet. Trashy might be looking for a little revenge, but he face tanks the Cocoon. It's going to be the end of that as Mickey X on a roam wasn't able to find anything.
Good call there from Fnatic saying, wait, Mickey is missing. He might come from base. Do not take the fight mid. Everyone steps away, and in the end, Fnatic's bot lane gets a free recall off and can return to lane. Reckless classic, where he's rushing attack speed boots as his first choice. Faster back to lane, early push in the lane as well with the attack speed. And he's ready to just go for the classic Tristana, AFK pushing, do not bother me at any moment, I just want to kill this tower.
Yep. As best as he possibly can, keep the wave nice and clean so it's difficult for Kabi and Mickey to really do a whole lot. And in case you're wondering why there's a burn flash up top side, Wonder got himself in a little bit of a skirmish. Ended up losing out on some summoners.
Oh, we missed that. Some bias coming in terms of what we show. Don't want to show bad moves from the Danes.
Well, there's a lot of them. You're going to have to pan around quite a bit this game.
There's actually a lot of Danes in this game.
Caps, 2 Danes in the mid lane, 2 Danes in the jungle.
Caps on the analyst actually said that he was a little bit afraid about Splyce because they bring an extra Dane. There's 3 on Fnatic,
they don't
4
normally have
on
to
Splyce.
deal with that, yeah.
Exactly, so they're actually outnumbered, which of course for Caps is a bit of an issue, but let's see if maybe Reckless, as a Swede, can make up for it.
We'll see. As sneaky moves up top, but Trashy's going to be spotted on the ward once again. Soaz should be able to keep himself nice and safe. Although he does start stepping a little far forward. The tunnel is out. Can he get the unburrow? And right to the body slam. There it goes. Wonder's got the damage, though. The barrel knocks him back as he rolls into the waiting arms of Broxa. And Trashy hopping right over, but giving his life its first blood to Broxa.
Damn, he just disappeared in the end. Soaz is still alive. He's hiding in that pit right there. He body slam over the wall.
Come on, he's going to do it. He even stops to clear the tunnel.
Oh, that man.
What a swag move.
Oh, so he's walking around again.
Now Wonder's in some trouble. Here we go, up and out. Broxa, he wants to go in for round 2, finish dinner, looking for dessert, but this one is firing back, and now Soaz, he's still got a few more auto attacks on the barrel, and Broxa getting himself number 2.
Classic Fnatic early game here. They take some of these fights, and they're just able to execute them. Soaz flashing away first, but then the turnaround with Broxa, and then Soaz, the 7-year-old veteran, standing around and actually returning. So this is the gank at first. Remember, Wonder has no flash, so you can't actually stay on Soaz. Ulti comes down, Soaz flash away, and now Trashy ulti's in and gets deleted by Broxa and Soaz.
That was like, sink the Fangs in, get the smite. Now we're not just done with Teeth just yet. Sencooks was looking to get a Twin Fang off onto Caps, but not enough to finish him off. Still waiting on that flash, but and the heal. All of a sudden, the game started to get a little hyphy. We
did talk about how Cassiopeia had a good matchup against Corki. It simply comes down to the amount of damage you can deal as a Cassiopeia in these 1v1s. It is more than the Corki. It's also very easy to actually sidestep Corki's little balloon, the Q, because it's very slow animation. You get movement speed buff as a Cassiopeia. So it's very easy to kind of just stay on the Corki, avoid some of his damage, and then just keep spamming Twin Fangs on the Corki himself. But obviously, if you are Caps, he's running with Warlords, he's running with heal, and he just stepped away from the fight as fast as possible. So a lot of sustain on him. Warlords is the new flavor of the month for Corki mid. It used to be Thunderlords, but now with Warlords here. And the fact that you get quite some AD with the Infinity Edge build makes Warlords actually a very good choice for some extra sustain later on in the game as well.
Yeah, he's sitting on the Sheen for the time being, and of course, Trinity Force is always one of those power spikes we got to watch for. But let's talk about somebody else. Down in the bottom lane, Reckless. That's mostly Kennen, but he does pretty good on everything else.
He does pretty good on everything else. Most kills for any player.
We don't normally talk about KDA, but he's big.
As well. Yeah, I mean,
big score.
KDA is such a... It's such a weird stat sometimes because like you can have a great KDA without being a good player. If you get a lot of assist and never really die because you're super passive. But that's not Reckless. Like Reckless is playing super aggressive. He's split pushing. He's joining every fight, and he's racking up kills and assists every game without dying a lot.
It's calculated play, right? Like, it's the kind of thing that there's a couple different schools of thought with AD carries. There's, I'm going to do as much damage as possible. I might die, but I'm going to try and trust my team. There's, I'm not going to trust my team. I'm going to sit in the back and make sure I step up only when I can get the kills. Reckless is kind of the latter school. This is sort of what Forgiven used to do back in SK Gaming days.
Let's see what happens top Pyro, then we can talk more about Reckless after, because Splyce the lane swapping.
Looking for Soaz here. He's got the belly bop out, throws the barrel, he knocks away the birds. But now Wonder is still on top of him, and there we go with the grand entrance Featherstorm. There is no way to escape from that, and Trashy was even bringing up the rear to try and get the assist.
The power of Rakan when it comes to engaging, the fact that you have Flash and your W to close the gap, makes it extremely hard to escape from the Rakan, and that is why Splyce can lock down this kill here with the lane swap. Actually a very nice lane swap where they got to push bot lane first and recall, so they were 5-6 seconds ahead of Fnatic's bottom lane. You can see how Reckless and Jess just returned to the top lane. This is simply Splyce with the first recall bot lane, rushing top lane, and therefore being a few steps forward, a few steps ahead of Fnatic. That's one thing I want to add to that Reckless point, though.
Go for it.
I want to give a lot of credit to his teammates as well for that KDA. Because what Fnatic is able to do is able to coordinate a lot of these moves, like what looks like risky moves at first. They execute them well because every single player is on the same page. So when Reckless is saying, I'm going to gank this guy in the side lane, you can see how Jess is already ready, he's there. Caps is already roaming. Source is ready to set up the gank. And all members on this team are working well together, allowing them to make some of these massive plays that teams do not expect. Because they're simply doing it faster. Mickey's face checking.
Right into another massive play there. Jez is looking to hook shot on in, trying to find Mickey X and Kobby as he throws down the cage, and Reckless trying to bring up the rear, but he was just a little too slow. It's going to be the end of that for now. Even Broxa was looking for the dive, but you could see that Mickey and Kobby were a little bit too quick to react.
I also have to remember Reckless right now not sitting with a lot of damage with his build. A lot of attack speed for pushing, not that much upfront damage, so fairly easy for Mickey to actually escape, seeing as it was just a 2v2. Broxa is around the Raptor camp now, ganking mid against a cleansed flash Cassiopeia. That's not very easy and not very effective. If you can go either for Wonder or, of course, Mickey and Kobby, it might be easier for Broxa then to try and lock down the kill.
Maybe just a little bit easier, but despite the flashy plays, despite the action we've seen on a couple sides of the map so far, it is a very even game to kick things off. No towers have fallen just yet. The gold is only 500 different, and that's pretty much the kill. As Soaz goes in onto Wonder, he's not going to be able to do that much more damage as the barrel hits. Trading back and forth. There is still that level advantage to contend with, though.
Stop his recall. Be annoying.
Ooh,
be
minions.
annoying.
There he goes.
Corki is so good at being annoying when people are recalling due to his long range. Still a thing for solo queue. Broxah is now going to the top lane, as we mentioned. Mickey, no flash. Copy, no flash. But Xayah with ulti to try and escape the first engage. Mickey will have to rely on his dash to get out of it.
He's got a longer range when paired up with that Xayah looking to go in. Broxah still waiting in this brush.
So the thing is, they don't actually know where Rek'Sai is. So Fnatic were like, why is Mickey walking forward, straight in our faces? That smells like a jungler is nearby.
Surely they're not just doing that 2v2.
Yeah, they have no flashes. Like, that seems really risky. A funny story, Trashy was mid lane, sitting on a control ward. So he wasn't actually top lane, but Fnatic didn't want to risk going for that gank and get counter-ganked by the Rek'Sai. And they end up just stepping away, playing it safe.
Playing it safe for now. Soaz once again trying with the 1v1 effort on 2. Wonder throws him back with the barrel, but the equalizer's down as well. Broxah trying to skitter forward, repels up and out, sinks the fangs in, and he flashes, but the cocoon lands, and Broxah gets kill number 3.
And we talked about this like 2 minutes ago, Pyra, how if you're Broxah, the lanes to gank is either top lane with no flashes or bot lane where you have this rumble sitting that can't really escape. What did Broxah do? He went top first, didn't want to risk it, went straight to bottom lane. Like, he's very efficient in picking his lanes. And he goes straight to the bottom lane, secures the gank, and now he will get the bot lane tower as well for Fnatic. So good decisions here from Broxah in the early game, and he's showing why Elise is a power pick for him.
Broxah is very, very well aware of his impact on the map this game, but now we're seeing the race for the tower being won, it looked like, by Splyce, but there's a fight up in the top side. Teleports are flying, but one is going to get canceled as Jez is left for dead by the rest of Splyce. Trashy will finally get on the board with 1 kill of his own.
Good reply here from Splyce. Obviously knowing that Broxah is bottom lane, that means Trashy can go top lane and create a numbers advantage for the team. They do secure the kill and tower. Now mid lane tower is taking a lot of damage. Splyce, they're taking Rift Herald instead.
Fnatic should be able to add up to this gold ante for the time being. And I misspoke earlier. They were the ones who got the first tower while the fight was going on up in the top side for Splyce. If Splyce can secure this Rift Herald, they can be able to knock down a few more.
Yeah, I quite like this call here from Splyce once they kill the Rift Herald, because they knew that mid lane tower was lost once Singles hit roam. So you're kind of taking a loan in the bank straight away, because you obviously know that. Actually, that would be a bad loan because you're losing money up front. So you're not taking a loan. You're making an investment instead, Pyra.
I don't know what kind of bank you go to.
Right, exactly. That was a terrible loan. So you're making an investment. You pay some money up front right there by losing your tower, so you know the enemy team now has a bit of a gold advantage. But you're going to get a return of investment, obviously, by using the Rift Herald, hopefully very soon, to then get a tower
You wait
back.
till the time is right. It's actually a bond is what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
We're doing financials here at the ULCS.
Sadly, that investment, it's kind of crappy because what you lose is a tower and what you get in return is a tower. So you actually didn't really earn extra. It's rare you get 2 towers for that Rift Herald. That would be a sick investment then.
Well, maybe they can make it worth a little bit more than it was. Still
Maybe.
Fairly even. It has been a little different because of the first tower blood and the extra tower that Fnatic were able to get for the time being. We'll see if Splyce can catch it back up. But I want to go back to an earlier point about Broxah because he has been all over this map and very efficient at it. Last week I had the pleasure of sitting down with him and he said, I was more passive than I should have been. I wasn't able to get things done early. He was really very cognizant of the fact that he is so key to Fnatic's strategy in the early game. And giving him something like Elise, well, it is very risky if you're Splyce.
The reason Splyce did it in this game was because they wanted to give a guaranteed first pick to Fnatic to then get 2 power picks over to Splyce in that rotation. And that's where they valued the Rakan, and of course they valued the Rek'Sai for Wonder. But let's see what happens mid.
Ooh, I don't know. This Cassiopeia looked like it was getting valued as well by all of Fnatic as Caps will throw a big rocket. Like shooting fish in a barrel with the Hextech ultimatum on. Not much that Senkooks could have done.
And it's been another game where we talk about a lot of members on Fnatic. We don't talk that much about Soaz. And then, quietly, Soaz kind of walks around, gets assists all the time, engages fights properly, survives ganks against him. And this Gragas performance has been really good again from Soaz in terms of his laning phase, and then a roam like this into mid lane that's going to reward a dragon over to Fnatic as well.
Well, so as long-standing veteran in the European LCS, and what's that old saying? How's that go to Fischio? If you do the right thing, sometimes nobody's sure if you've done anything at all. As long as he's not making himself look tasty, Splyce, they haven't really had a reason to kind of go on him. Trying to get a few ganks, but you don't like that one?
No, because I feel like if you do the right thing, most of the time people should notice it and, you know, point it out. But
well, they should.
Right. I guess,
I'm not saying they do that.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just saying people should do that.
No, you're right.
But all right, let's flip the tables over here. Let's talk about what Splyce is trying to do in this game. They're trying
all about
to survive.
attention, Pyre, you know.
Oh, I know.
When I do something well, I want you to tell me, like, oh, that was a great job, you know.
That's why I never talk to you.
Oh, damn, boy.
I'm just kidding.
That's fine.
That's okay. All right.
You had one where you can definitely fight back. Soaz is gonna kill people.
Yeah, Suncook needs to find one as well if he can. Looks like the rest of Splyce is coming to the party. Equalizer is down, and Fnatic decide maybe they don't want this one. Soaz, he's the man left for dead, and Wonder's going to be able to find a kill of his own. Now maybe they can try to pick up Cass, but he's still got 2 summoners in the pocket.
Man, cast the curse. Just as we praise Soaz for engages, he walks mid with Reckless sitting top lane on a Tristana. He just walks straight in the face of Splyce in a 4v5 and dies. And now the Rift Herald, the investment, they need to get this tower, otherwise it was a damn crappy investment.
Well,
it was a terrible investment.
3/4 of the tower, unfortunately, does not pay off. Fnatic are able to
lost
defend
money
that
on
one.
that. Obviously would have lost the tower anyway, but still.
Well, Fnatic were able to stop it from happening, still keeping that gold lead about 2,000 in their favor as we get closer and closer to the 20-minute mark on the map. Taking a look at the play again, how it all got started in the mid with, looks like Sencook's getting caught, but he had friends.
Well, again, you're counting 4 members from Fnatic, with then now all of Splyce actually being around the mid lane. While Copy doesn't join the fight, the fact that he's obviously on his way means the Splyce are very confident in just saying, let's fight this one. And Fnatic are probably calling, wait, Reckless is top lane. Why are we fighting? And that's why everyone is backing out, and they just gave a free kill.
Sometimes, even if you normally are able to make that work with your team all the time, it doesn't always. So for Splyce, they were able to turn things around, get a kill back for themselves, and now that they know that Sencook is kind of the man that Fnatic are keying off of, it seems like they're able to work around it.
Yeah, exactly. It was very easy for them to actually respond in mid, because they were obviously seeing the map, and no side lane was pushing from Fnatic, so there's no reason for Splyce to sit in the side lane right there. As we talked about earlier in Champ Select, the win condition for Splyce is 5-on-5 team fighting. It's what they've drafted with so much damage on the lineup, and they have hard engage from especially Rakan to start fights. And then you pair that with things like a follow-up knock-up from Rek'Sai, a Rumble ulti from Wonder, and then the backline of Fnatic will take a lot of damage. Other option is when the fight breaks out, you can actually kite back with Xayah and Cassiopeia and just hit Soaz. Just try and kill Soaz, who's standing right in front of you. If he dies, there are 4 squishy guys behind him that you can then take down right after. So 5-on-5 team fighting is the name of the game for Splyce to win this.
Well, it's the same kind of thing that we saw from the guys they beat last week, the Unicorns of Love. Or the other week, I should say. So maybe you take the strategy of the team you're able to take down. Fnatic certainly well acquainted with that one.
Yeah, very true. Like, it worked against them, and it's something we've seen more and more teams try and do against Fnatic. We saw last week from Mysterious Monkeys, they tried to also say, like, okay, hey, we want to try and get a composition where we can force Fnatic to try and team fight us, and then we can maybe beat them that way. We don't want to get caught in the side lanes. So what they did was drafting a split-pushing top laner who would force Fnatic to abandon the 1-3-1 and just go mid lane.
Never going to happen.
And try and fight them, but Fnatic in the end actually just completely outplayed the Mysterious Monkeys in terms of macro. This game, however, Splyce down 2,000 gold, but definitely not out of the game by any means. Like, one little team fight in their favor, and they're right back at it, maybe with the Baron.
Well, but this is why we're excited about a team like Splyce, and one of the reasons they're on such a higher level in the standings than, you know, honestly, even throughout their history we've seen from them, because they're capable of doing just that. Fnatic is a fantastic team in a lot of regards, but they are not infallible. We saw that up against Roccat. Lone games, even up against G2, it can happen. But they are currently looking pretty good. Brox is a large part of that advantage in the early game, but there's a timer ticking. Splyce, they want that late game. You've got a Cassiopeia, you've got a Xayah. That's some serious damage.
Yeah, and that's where, if you're looking at Fnatic now, for them to force a play, it's hard to do it as a split-pushing team, because Gragas is not really the big split-pushing top laner. Obviously, the Tristana is a lot worse in the side lane than a Kennen. Definitely not the same kill pressure you have in terms of 1v1ing people. So that means Reckless is kind of just trying to power farm the side lane to then go and join his team in the mid lane. And Fnatic will have to opt into the 5-on-5 team fighting against Splyce. They can't win the game of split pushing with this composition, and that's why this is going to be a super fun late game, where it just comes down to the skill of teams in terms of 5-on-5ing each other.
Might see a few of those soon. Mid lane, Splyce still have their eyes on, and there's some big power spikes going for the Fnatic squad to try to wear through here with that Trinity Force and the Infinity Edge completed for Caps. It's going to be difficult to shred through the defenses that Fnatic are mounting.
The later we get into the game, the more chances Splyce will have to hard engage, even if a tower is in the way. They're still a little bit too early, they feel, to maybe go tower diving between two towers. But when you see Reckless in that side lane, you normally want to call for the engage and just say, you know what, this guy is not going to join the fight in time. We can burst people down with our composition, even on the tower. Fnatic will feel safe right now, but give it a few more minutes, and then I actually think Splyce will have like level 16 on their two solo laners, and they can definitely just all in.
But this is going to help Fnatic for the time being, because even though the game has slowed down a little bit, they're the ones that have the incentive to go ahead and grab that Infernal Drake. That extra 80 in AP is definitely not going to hurt in any sort of situation.
Caps also just used the package to kill the wave in mid to get the push going.
They're going to see it. Barrel, nice insurance, good secure right now for Fnatic.
I think this was a little bit too passive from Splyce. They could definitely have fought for this Drake, but what happened before was Caps killed the wave in mid with the package from Corki. So Splyce was pretty far back on the map and then had to walk up when Fnatic had already started Drake. But setup there definitely could use a little bit of tempo for Splyce. Because if you play with a Rumble comp at 24 minutes, you don't want to just give up a free Drake to a team that is actually just kind of sitting around mid lane and Drake specifically.
Yeah.
Once again, the side lanes were not really an issue for Splyce, and yet they didn't manage to contest an Infernal Drake.
It seemed like they got caught snoozing for just a little bit, and fortunately for them, they can't get anything off of it. I mean, that top tower is still the lone objective that Splyce has managed to secure in this game. So say what you want about Fnatic, but they're definitely able to defend well, and maybe it's just on Splyce for not pushing hard enough.
Yeah, but what Fnatic is doing now is like Reckless pushes top, forces a member from Splyce to go top lane and kill the wave, which means Splyce can't engage mid lane, because they're not all five together. So they will do that over and over. You can see it's Senkooks right now, and Cassiopeia is sitting up there, allowing Fnatic to then push in mid lane, seeing as they're the ones who can then remove, you know, a guy from that side lane. Reckless will push and leave. So when Senkooks goes up to kill the wave top lane, well then Reckless is already mid lane, and there's a numbers advantage for Fnatic, meaning they can push mid lane first, allowing Splyce, or meaning that Splyce have to sit back defensively.
Yeah, just not able to get a catch on.
Which is why we're waiting for Splyce to push out this top lane like they're doing now with the slow push, and then engage as a team when Senkooks is there. If we show the camera on this top lane wave that's actually pushing for Splyce, if we just hover it all the way up to the top lane, as we see Trashy, who's not a minion, he's Rek'Sai. Anyway, the top lane wave is pushing for Splyce right now. This is the opening to try and actually engage mid. Small opening.
As Reckless was up there, he's going to be not with the rest of the team. Soaz getting knocked up once and twice. The tax boot coming in for Jez's. Soaz is the tank, though. He's able to hold on to most of his health bar. But now Splyce are still looking for this mid tower. Do they dare to dive? The answer is no.
And they have the right idea. Okay, engage now. Reckless is top. Senkooks hadn't returned from base. He was on his way. He should have pushed that wave top lane once more. Just one more wave to buy a bit more time for his team to engage. Then it could have worked. Right now they're kind of rushing things because they don't get the push top lane properly, so they don't have enough time where Reckless is missing to actually force the fight, and that is why Fnatic is sitting with almost full map control at the moment. Once again, you need to push another wave top lane if you're Senkooks. That's why his jungler is there. Rek'Sai is up top lane, if you guys look at the minimap, to back him up. And then now you know if Reckless shows up in this lane, you can either kill him, or you can go mid lane and now force that play in that mid tower.
Talking about investments, that's going to be a long one if they are waiting for Reckless to go back up to the top side. He's going to have to wait and push. He is going to go, though.
Senkooks he's choosing option number A, which is to wait and try and kill Reckless.
If he gets past that mark. But Fnatic, they do not see the snake in the grass.
He's hiding
Instead,
there.
just 4 members of Splyce.
Remember, Tristana cannot jump away from Cassiopeia if Miasma is on her. She cannot jump away from that.
Oh boy, this is tense.
But he needs to push another one, and he doesn't know where Cassiopeia is. He's a smart man.
Reckless,
like,
game sense is tingling.
He could be top lane right now. I'm not going to push.
The rest of Splyce getting a little antsy, try and make another play here. Grand entrance, battle dance, but it's Jez's who actually gets the start on his Kabi goes Featherstorm, but Mickey has to give his life right into the rest of Fnatic. He pulls the quickness, but that's not going to be enough to get him out.
This is like watching Fnatic versus Mysterious Monkeys last week. the enemy team, they kind of know what it is they need to do, but they just can't fully execute it. They're just slightly behind a few steps. And then Fnatic are just a smarter team, and they punish it. Reckless did not overextend top lane because he knew mid laner was missing. Just walked to mid lane. That means that they can engage on on Mickey, who's now caught out. He dies. Is that mid lane tower now dying in favor of Fnatic? Yes, it is.
Just keep on pecking away at the tower, and just like that, Splyce find themselves down another objective, unable to break the armor of Fnatic. 28 minutes into the game, and that lead's still growing. Let's see what Fnatic can get done still here. It looks like they have control all the way up the river. Would not expect them to be so hasty to start on the Baron, but they can keep Splyce from doing it.
Yeah, now they forced everyone from Splyce all the way back, so Reckless can just go top lane again and just do exactly the same thing.
And this time he knows there's no Cassiopeia in the bunch.
He knows no one is there. If he feels he's overextending, he just walks away. And there you go. He just walks away because his entire team is back in base. He waits a little bit. He knows, okay, no one is actually showing up. He has 2 wards just underneath him. And he's safe. And it's that understanding of, like, when do I push? When do I back? A lot of players, professional players, just push. They get overextend, they die. And then this playstyle never works.
You have to have that level of control, the ability to know, the experience to just kind of think maybe this isn't the best time to do it and control yourself. Fnatic are definitely demonstrating that well right now. It's a large part of why they're building this lead over Splyce. Still nobody up in the top. Reckless is even going to be able to stop and clear away the Rek'Sai tunnel of Trashy, and with the explosive shot, with his auto attack bonus, he's just able to clean up once again. Splyce right back to mid.
You have to then just straight up engage while Reckless is top. Ignore the tower, just engage onto Fnatic, otherwise you will not get enough back. You just traded turrets now and got no kills, and that means you can't go Baron, and the same play will then happen right after.
Soaz wasn't even there. He was leading minions on the bottom side, so Fnatic, they are just running Splyce around this map, saying that's okay, we can 1-3-1 however we want. Splyce just too slow to react.
Well, credit to Fnatic's mid lane group for stepping away from the turret. Obviously, when I said ignore the tower, I didn't mean don't kill it. I mean you can run past it and just dive Fnatic if you want to force the fight. Of course, you kill the tower when it is right in front of you.
And when do you feel comfortable to do it, right? Like, you have Senkux now sitting on those 3 items. You have a lot more completed for Wonder. You have Kabi really starting to roll forward. Now the Infinity Edge is complete. But once again, they back away en masse. They give away another dragon, I should say, to Fnatic. And, well, Earth Drake is well completed, or Mountain, I should say. It's going to be even easier for Fnatic to start chipping away at those towers.
Right now, Splyce missing their mid laner. Can't really fight around the middle side. That means, obviously, they have to just respect Fnatic's push. And that means Fnatic get entrance to the Baron. And there's a lot of, like, map movement talk in this game because there's been very few fights and very few kills.
Yeah.
And it's all built around minion pushes. Professional League of Legends is so focused around a few specific things like tempo, you know, like who can make a play first, and minion pushing, who is pushing the lane first so they can then move first and make plays.
Sometimes they get those catches on, and just like that, Trashy's taken down. Caps finds himself a spree. 6-3 in the kill score right now, 30 minutes on this clock, and Fnatic, as a gang squad, are definitely looking hot.
And it's not messy, it's not a fiesta, it's not super crazy fast paced, it's actually just really smart split pushing play from Fnatic.
Yeah,
100%.
Clean and crisp.
Exactly, they're really understanding when they can engage, when they shouldn't push, when they should push, and now they're going straight for this Baron.
When they can start it off, no smite available to contest, so it is an easy peasy take for Fnatic, and now they can go in 5v4. With the Baron buff, Mickey X already down to half his health bar. They do root up Soaz. The quickness comes in, but Caps just blows up the Rakan, and Reckless is gonna do the rest of the team. It looks like Kabi's gone down. Soaz tanked the last bit of damage, and Senkux is gonna be the last snake standing here, but I don't know how long that's gonna last. Jesus is not too far behind, and neither are Caps and Reckless. On the miasma they go, but they are not going to go too far.
Trashy on the way back here. Fnatic respecting Senkux's damage at this point, but there's still 4 members around. Caps is very low, and they are trying to go for this tower.
He does have his flash. He goes up. He's going to have to go back. Caps going in, but it's a shutdown for Senkux as the shield comes out for him. That's still going to open up the inhibitor tower down mid for the rest of Fnatic.
Caps loading up the crits right there, feeling confident, diving straight in. Senkux is...
Yeah, but he forgot about Seraphs.
Yeah, he also forgot about the fact that he had no HP at all.
He still had flash. He forgot about the F key too.
Well, I think at this point he couldn't even flash out. He just went in and said, you know what, I can burst down this Cassiopeia so fast. But obviously, as you highlighted, Senkuk there with his shield coming in. Baron play after the pick from Soaz into a team fight where it's 4v5. Cassiopeia cannot get enough damage down when she has no protection in front of her, and that means the rest of Fnatic can just dive onto Splyce. Senkuk still full HP, trying to join the fight at any given moment. Will get one kill, but simply not enough for Splyce. Better macro has allowed Fnatic to actually dominate this game. Despite a few kills, they have been 1 to 2 steps ahead of Splyce at all time.
Yeah, no matter how the game ends, and it looks like it's definitely going one direction, it's going to be a lot that Splyce will have to think about getting their heads back on for game number 2, because they have not faced a challenge, I think, on this level. This split so far, Fnatic are really playing it out incredibly clean.
And the funny thing is, actually, Splyce is playing, or trying to play the playstyle of Unicorns of Love a little bit, where you run a lot of engage, and you try and go mid and just like pull the trigger, just hard engage. But very few teams in Europe can actually do what Unicorns are trying to do. Like, they're not as fast, or they don't gamble as much on the engage. Splyce definitely had openings here where they could have gone for the all-ins, but they would have to risk maybe losing a few members. There was a tower in the way, and they didn't go for it.
Ooh, Wonder, he went for it, but I don't know if he should have right now. Goes golden, but the redemption's coming in, and Mickey is as well. He's able to get a knock-up onto Caps and get the finishing blow, but it's going to be Jedzis who's caught out on the other side. Maybe Splyce have found the fight in the jungle they're looking for. 2 quick kills pick up, and Wonder is even able to make his escape, and so is Reckless right back to base.
Oh, that was lucky.
Woo.
Mickey's knock-up a little bit too slow, the animation, that is.
Gotta bless the Baron-empowered recall there.
Exactly, but Fnatic losing that fight, overstepping in the jungle. Splyce, quick turnaround, and Senkuk's now 3-1-2 on this Cassiopeia here. We did mention his insane late game damage, and he's getting to that point actually. So Splyce, out of nowhere, just got 2 kills and a mid lane tower.
Classic caster curse. We spent the last few minutes talking about Fnatic's clean macro, and then they pick a fight in the jungle.
It's almost crazy at this point. Like, a play like that you just can't predict will happen, but Splyce will be happy with it. They're going to get bot lane tower as well, Pirate. That's a lot of gold in favor of Splyce all of a sudden.
Yeah, this can help them start to turn their fortunes around, and as we said, late game damage is certainly going to be in Splyce's favor. Extended fights, if they can bait Fnatic into a few more of those and fluster them, that can make the difference, but Wonder's going to have to escape first. Reckless jumping forward, gets the buster shot back, and he's able to land a few more crits for the kill. No assistance required.
Wonder did not expect Fnatic to just rush straight to that top lane and kill him. Well, this time around, he had no hourglass to save his ass.
No, not this time. Well, Fnatic, they're still looking pretty solid ahead in this game, despite a couple of blips on the radar, but if that keeps happening, Splyce might just be able to turn their fortunes around.
And Caps has just completed my favorite Corki build right now. Trinity Force into IH, into then Rapid Fire and Static Shift. Your damage on 4 items is insane.
Holy crit, man.
Definitely. And the synergy between your items is fantastic. Obviously a lot of crit with Infinity Edge, but also Rapid Fire Cannon, obviously with the energy increase. It actually works on Warlords as well, with how fast that stacks up fully, so you can use it more. So not only does it buff the Static Shift, it also buffs his Keystone. And that means now that you have... This is the biggest spike Corki can actually reach. His item number 5 is not that huge in terms of damage increase, so the 4 item spike is the key.
All right, we'll see if this fight's going to start off right, or is Fnatic going to be able to close it themselves. It was a touch and go one for just a second. Only 4 members of Splyce here as Wonder's clearing out the top side.
Remember, Rumble TPs is not exactly the backline dive he's going for, where he appears behind the enemy team and suddenly he's like, surprise! He actually wants to TP in where his team is, which means his teleports are never as impactful when it comes to setting up these fights here.
There's a lot of eyes around this Elder Dragon, though, and Fnatic, they definitely have their sights set on it. With those 3 dragons in tow to try and finish this one off would be huge, possibly game-ending for them. Reckless rushing to get with the team.
There is a ward, though, behind Fnatic now that Wonder could go for, but it is risky, and would obviously again put him at risk, because he would be all alone behind Fnatic. But if you want to go for the big one, you might sometimes have to put yourself at risk.
Tense moment here, throwing down everything they can. Fnatic want to rush this one. There's an exhaust down, but Broxa just takes out Mickey X, and the Dragon's gonna fall afterwards. Splyce, they trying to turn this one back around, but instead, Fnatic are just gonna look to march mid themselves.
And remember when we talked about Splyce needing to hard engage, and Fnatic always looking for that one pick, that squishy guy who gets CC'd and he dies. That happened in this fight right here. Mickey got caught by Cocoon, dies instantly, Splyce can't fight right after, and Fnatic, without killing all 5 members, secure a very easy Elder Drake and can now push in for the finish.
They don't need kills, but they have the objectives, and it's going to be so difficult for Splyce to try and contest this one with only 4 members. Those towers are being cut through so fast, we can barely talk about it, but Senkux is looking to try to get the hero play off. However, the rest of Fnatic are able to shrug off the Petrifying Gaze, turn it back around, looking for Kabi. It's Reckless who gets one. Wonder's going to fall for a double, turning their attention over to Senkux, slaying the snake, and skinning this one. The game is going to go in Fnatic's favor, and it looks so good right at the end of it all. Triple kill for Reckless, and Fnatic are 1-0 on the board.
And we had a game right here where Fnatic played all the comfort picks, no surprises in the pick and ban phase, played exactly the same way in-game, but they were simply much better at understanding when to push, when to roam, when to fight, compared to Splyce. The macro was in Fnatic's favor. It was a smart game, where the only big mistake we can actually remember was them dying in that bot side, in the blue buff area of Splyce after they got the ban. But like, that is one of those mistakes that can always happen. Overall, extremely clean performance from Fnatic.
But this is one of those kind of games where you have to look at that and think, man, it looks so simple. Just play smarter, just play better. Don't try that at home, folks. That is not easy play.
No, all this is like, the coordination it requires to play this is impossible on solo queue. Like, it will just never happen. But for professional teams, when they really start mastering the split push comps or the split push play style, it just becomes super fun to watch. And oftentimes hard engage is the way to beat it, but then you gotta engage.
Yeah.
When you have the tools.
Splyce didn't pull the trigger enough. I mean, there was so many times down that mid lane when they saw Reckless and the reaction was instantly, do we go? And they just, by the time you think that, you can't do it.
Yeah, I don't want to do it because the tower is a bit too risky. I don't really want to go for an objective. And then when there were Drake step, maybe they could have fought over.
That's when you need to get the solo queue in mind.
Right? Yeah, sometimes you just gotta say, we have to go and try and fight them or we will slowly lose this game.
All right, well, Fnatic came out swinging on the side lanes against Splyce. Let's leave it to Quickshot and Vedius to analyze their win.
Thank you very much, Pyra, and pretty interesting game. Slightly slower paced, but one thing I really want to praise Fnatic on is they got an advantage early on. They never felt out of control. You know, the lead was always close, was always marginal. Splyce stayed relatively in the game, but they were never, ever, ever in lead of the game.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for Splyce was the reality that they couldn't properly utilize their composition. Like when you have a Rumble, when you have a Rakan, Rek'Sai, you're thinking, they have a composition that's designed to kill the enemy team. And then more often than not, they were never really the ones being able to set up a fight. It was often usually in Fnatic's favor.
Well, yeah, I mean, it helps that Soaz and Broxah got every single kill for Fnatic before 15 minutes. They just seemed to combo everywhere. They won that great 2v2 early on. Yep. They had some great counter ganks. It ended up allowing Fnatic around a 2,000 gold lead. Our first replay that I'd like to bring up on your screen is now Fnatic maybe being a little over-eager with their engage. What are you seeing here, baby?
Yeah, so the reason why we've paused it is because I want to highlight the vision that Fnatic have of their opposition, okay? So what you can see is Fnatic know where Senkux is, they know where Trash is. They know that Senkux has no flash, and the logic here is we'll just go for an engage with the Righteous Glory from Soaz, we'll use the barrel ultimate to knock him back in, and we'll nuke him. Instant kill, easy pickup, gives us so much freedom to maybe take top tower, get division, whatever, it gives them room. What they don't know is where 3 members of Splyce are. And as we roll the clip, out, Fnatic are very quickly going to find out exactly where they are. So the plan is to get the engage onto Senkux. But the thing about Rumble and the thing about Rakan is how easy it is for them to just join a fight and very quickly turn it in their favor. And while the logic was fine from Fnatic, the execution was poor. And it's always a big gamble when you try to make a fight happen without your AD carry, which Reckless is always off in a side lane doing.
I mean, very frequently, right? He's definitely built up a penchant for that split push, that side lane control in the Fnatic squad. Fnatic ended up pushing through. I've got some interesting stats here for you. That was the latest 3rd tower killed by Fnatic all split long. It was close to 28 minutes, close to around 4 minutes later than their previous game. It indicates a slower pace. It indicates either a modicum of respect from Fnatic for the Splyce engage or a modicum of defensive play on the Splyce side, because they weren't crumpled. You know, they weren't destroyed. There were some great mechanical moves. I particularly like Cobby dodging the Hextech ultimatum with his Featherstorm, for example. But let's talk about this from the Splyce angle and how they handle themselves.
I feel like that it was a lot of respect, Sean. I think you hit the nail on the head with that comment, because when you're playing against Cassio, Rumble, Rakan, it's super easy for that squad to just engage onto you, right? So every time you get close to that tower, your Corki, very high risk of getting popped. The Tristana, very high risk of getting popped. So there's this huge element of danger that Fnatic have to make sure that whenever they're going for an objective, it's more like a 70-80% chance of success rather than a 50-60 level.
Okay, how many percentage chance of success was the Elder Dragon replay that I want to pull up, right? This is around a 6K gold lead in favor of Fnatic. It's late in the game. What's your success chances in this scenario?
So right now, the chances are at about 70% because they have mid-priority and the Rumble is not here. Where things start to get a little bit more dangerous is when Rumble joins the fight, but then Broxer is able to land the Cocoon, and that just makes it 100% guaranteed success rate, because with the support gone, with the main engage tool out of the fray, Fnatic feel more than happy to just make a fight happen and win the game off the back.
Yeah, and you look at that gold graph, while it does look like a mountain towards the end, that is still 38 minutes game time. It took around 20-25 minutes to get that 2,000 gold lead. I think some credit to Splyce, albeit they didn't find the opportunities, didn't find the engages, and huge credit to Broxer. This is a dude that is still quietly improving, quietly challenging for one of the most consistent junglers and best junglers in the league.
I disagree with that because, like, he's definitely the best jungler in the league. The only one I'm curious about is how well he'll max up against Xerxes, and the only reason why I put him above Xerxes right now is because I feel that Broxer has a wider variation in playstyles. I feel like that he can play both early game junglers and late game scalers more effectively than Xerxes can. Whereas I feel the only style he plays right now is scaling and teamfight. If we see more variation like we have recently with the Rek'Sai, then I definitely think he's up there. But I would never say that Brox is like a coming into. I think that Brox has been a top tier jungler for a very long time now.
Well, fair enough. I think he has been top tier as well. Vedius definitely dropping that bombshell. The best jungler in Europe right now. Thank you very much, Vedius. We'll see if Splyce can strike back in game 2. I hope so. I'd like to see 3. We'll be back right around the corner.